I want to bring in a special appearance for our WSN Injury Insider, Dr. Jeff Pierce, Michigan Sports and Spine. I thought it's pretty appropriate to talk to this guy today. Dr. Pierce, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Let me put this statement up for you from the Detroit Lions, released about 2 hours ago. Oh, well, if you're not watching live, at about 11 a.m. This morning. Aidan Hutchinson underwent successful surgery to repair a fractured tibia and fibula. Hutchinson will return to Detroit this week and is expected to make a full recovery. There is no timeline for his return to play at this time. Dr. Pierce, let me take you back. You see the injury, and what's the first thing going through your mind?
I was sad. I mean, this guy's put everything on the line to have an injury like this. I mean, from an emotional standpoint or from a medical standpoint, nobody's happy. It's gut-wrenching. Your heart kind of drops. And then as a physician, you kind of know what really happened. You know, it was like gruesome to the general public and probably to everybody. But then you start thinking right away, what's the repair? How clean is the fracture? How quick can he come back? I mean, after you see it like the second time, that's kind of what's going through my head. You know, he's an impact player. He's not just what his play is, he's how he is in the locker room, everything like that. He can still produce that, but as far as a player on the field, it was very upsetting. But again, right away, what's going on with this guy? I saw a lot in the chat room about mental. You know, I've probably seen more stuff about mental recovery and return than any chat I've seen before. So, you know, like I've always talked about the mental part. This guy has a great mental disposition to begin with. He's what you want. He's everything you want. It's unfortunate. You know, I saw somebody accuse him of, he comes in, barrel rushes, he does. No, that's his play. That's what's made him the player he is. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but where you want to go from here, you let me know.
Well, okay, so worst case scenario would have been a compound fracture. They do not believe that was the case. That was not the case, right. Actually. Clean break, and they believe he's going to make a full recovery. The first thing that comes to mind for me as a Michigan guy is Zach Zinter. Zach Zinter, offensive lineman for the Michigan Wolverines, broke his tibia and fibula in November in the Michigan-Ohio State game. So that's late November.
Correct.
He was back working out for the Browns, drafted in the third round, I believe. He was the first round pick, but fell to the third round, and he is playing now. He was back for off-season workouts in April or May, and so that is pretty positive in terms of getting onto the field in 6 to 8 months.
So just for the audience, understand, you say compound, I feel like you know that comfortably. Compound fracture means multiple fractures, that things are going on. What we're getting news is that it was a simple fracture. There's plates, there's screws holding it together. Looking at it, you can see the tibia is the bigger bone on the outside. The fibula is a smaller bone. A lot of times they say the fibula is kind of a useless bone, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It's for stabilizing, maybe useless for, an operator or something. But for a football player like this, you need it. Where it was, apparently it was closer to the tibia plateau, higher up. So that's an issue. When you're closer to the actual joint line, it takes a little bit more of recovery. But really, like a lot of people were saying last night, why do you have emergency surgery? It's very unusual we're having emergency surgery. The biggest thing for the emergency surgery is to control the bleeding, control the swelling, get in there, repair it as quickly as you can, and normalize what's going on. And it's not just the bone we're worried about. We're worried about the muscle around it, the ligaments, the vessels. Did he have a shearing effect or a tearing effect of the nerves? This is just showing you kind of the location of the tibia and fibula on the full body here. We just want to see that guy spin a couple times. But we thought, some of the great anatomy is peeling back, but a lot of people know, obviously it's from your knee down to your ankle, very important. People that actually saw the injury, it was like a puppet, like Maz said. It was kind of like it just fractured and fell off, which is tough to see, but it's also you want that quick break and a clean break. So the cleaner it is, word was from insiders of the family and stuff like that, is that the doctors felt that it was a much better situation than they anticipated, which typically means not a lot of ligament damage. The vessels are intact. The nerves are intact. His musculature, he does have a lot of muscle around it supporting it. So if you can fix that bone, normalize that as quickly as possible, get the swelling down. This guy, I'm predicting, they're throwing out there 6 to 8 months. I say he beats 6 months right now. Yeah. Super Bowl, what's the date on the Super Bowl?
February. Even so. I mean, I think
the idea, I hate to say, is that let him focus on full recovery. He's a player, a generational player. It's unfortunate, but I think this guy has a lot of football left in him. I think this is, like I've always said, an injury can make you a better player after. We're going to play that glass half full right now because I have met him a couple times. He's just got a great attitude. He's a positive energy in that locker room. He's going to be a big positive energy when the Lions are still running for the Super Bowl this time. I think it's going to kill him inside, but he'll keep that internalized with the way he is as a person. So,
you mentioned the mental with a guy like Aidan Hutchinson who plays with such a reckless abandon, and I mean that as a positive in every sense of the word for an athlete to play with. When you have an injury like this, in your experience, do you see guys, or what is the challenge there in playing the same way you've always played?
I always use Chris Osgood in this case. I mean, it's just they forget what happened yesterday. To be good at your sport, that mental component kind of leaves you. I think Hutchinson is that way also. There's a softer side to that guy, that whole ballet thing. We know for a fact he was passionate about his dance. Whatever he was doing, he was passionate about. I think that softer side plays different for him. I think mentally he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to recover because there's going to be some haters out there. Obviously, I'm not one of them. I'm full supportive of him. And I think the mental will be, like I said, like the Chris Osgood factors. I forgot I just let in a goal. I'm ready for the next thing. He's on for his next chapter. This is his next chapter. Just like Kobe Bryant said, when he was injured, it gave me much more reason to get up and fight every morning and be a better athlete. I think Hutchinson's going to take on that.
Talking to Dr. Jeff Pierce, our WSN injury insider, a Michigan Sports and Spine. Dr. Pierce, what is the next couple of weeks like for him? So you've had the surgery. When are you back on your feet walking? What is the next? Forget about football. Forget about getting ready for football. What's the next couple of weeks like for him when you do something like that?
It's really, obviously he's in Texas now. He's flying back. He's got to get that support system. He gets comfortable, right? For him mentally, it's understanding and educating. And he's a smart guy. He's got to educate himself on what actually happened, what's going to happen. But he's got to start feeling. You got to realize it's not like we glued it together. There's metal, there's rods and screws in there. So that's a stabilizing factor. He can start bearing weight. He'll probably be in a pool walking. So we put people in the pool, right? Because it takes a lot of weight off them. So there's treadmills in the pool. So it's like a SwimX. It's a powered thing where you can just get on like a treadmill, you get dropped in the water, and you can start walking on it. So once they'll probably put a bag around to keep the infection down. There's weightless things where we're going to try to get him on his feet as quickly as possible. He's not, he might be sitting for a week or so with his, the old school, Bugs Bunny stuff where you put the foot up in the air and their nurses running the rope up and down. That's yesterday type of thing.
Going to have some great nurses. We know this.
So that, to answer your question, it's going to be where his comfort level is. I see him, like I said, there's weightless bearing things. He's able to put weight on it because it is fixed with rods and screws, so you can bear weight on it once the swelling's down and everything's going on. So I say within a couple of weeks, he's probably putting weight on there to some degree. They're weightless. in weightless programs where we have that technology, other than the Bugs Bunny hanging you from a traction machine, but you're able to get into the pool. This guy is going to push the envelope at every step.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Hutch is such a unique player to suffer this type of injury. Not only is he ahead of our defense and on his way to a Defensive Player of the Year, but as you mentioned, Ryan, this is Michigan's son. From the city of Detroit to the entire state, this guy is embraced from high school to college, a national championship, and now as a Lion. Well, he didn't win a national championship, but a big part of those guys.
Pretty good, though.
Yeah, very good. And so this guy's not only going to have the full support of the entire Lions medical staff and his team, but he's going to have the support of this entire city, this entire state. And I'm going to tell you guys, there's going to be some Lions fans that are calling for him to play in the playoffs because this guy's going to push the envelope. We are going to be seeing talk in January about a possible Hutch return. Now, I don't really want to see that. Like you said, I want a full recovery. This guy is super young, and his 10-year career beyond what happened yesterday is bright, and we want him to realize all of that. But this kid is so singular in the way he approaches everything at his skill and at his profession that I really believe his mental makeup and his entire city and state behind him, he's going to be pushing the envelope. We're going to be talking about a possible sighting on field at the end of this season. I don't think it should happen. I think this guy's too important of a piece, but you hit the nail on the head. This guy is perfectly suited emotionally and physically with everyone around him, his support staff, to come back as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot's going to be said. I mean, you know, the other side is it's a clean break. He had surgery right away. He's ahead of the curve. I mean, I don't want to put the 3-month thing out there, but there's a 3-month play on that kind of recovery. Yeah. His speed and his step and his power, you know, I think he's going to maintain that muscle bulk. I don't think he's going to atrophy like a typical player because he does have some of that secret sauce. He's got a medical team that's with him. This guy, he's got nothing to do 7 days a week. He's going to find a way to be in that rehab. Like, you know, I love Kobe and, you know, God bless him, but, you know, he had that mentality. You know, whatever it was, he took it. I think Hutchinson comes from that kind of piece of cloth, too.
Dr. Pierce, when will football activities resume? Is it? I mean, I'm not even talking about coming back this season.
He's playing catch with the football right now.
Yeah, I am out on Hutch returns for Super Bowl. I mean, if that's the case, God bless him. I just it's a fun story. It might be a fun goal. Very reminiscent of Terrell Owens back in the day. Yes. Will he play in the Super Bowl kind of thing or not? Remember that T.O. story? Yeah. But I'm just going to go ahead and say he's not coming back this year.
It's going to be a story, though, Ryan.
It will be. It will be, but nonetheless,
it'll be the Hutchinson watch.
Absolutely.
Right.
Talk to me about like when you can start resume. Like, basically, give me a timeline of, okay, he's walking, he's doing running, he's lifting, he's doing football exercises, he's back on the field. Can you break it up into 4 different areas? Walking in 4 weeks.
Yeah, he'll be walking in 4 weeks, probably something like I said with that weightless system, either a pool or the other technology we have to kind of strap him and create a reduced weight bearing on that extremity, on that leg. But he's also going to work on his, you know, other parts of his body. So there's just natural recovery. Again, when you put the nail in the rods in there, you're stabilizing that joint. If it's a cleaner break, it's going to recover. So yeah, we can go 1 to 4 weeks. He's walking, getting comfortable, losing that limp within 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks, he starts kind of pushing it, working with, you know, don't forget about proprioception. I don't know if we've really talked about, but that's that feedback system that he needs. How his foot's being placed on the ground. You know, and that depends on how much vascular and, you know, from a nerve standpoint that was disrupted. So the more disruption, the more of that feedback he needs. I think with the quick recovery, I'm estimating that there was less disruption to that. So we should have better feedback of knowing, like proprioception is just kind of knowing where your foot is in space. So that's going to be the next step. And the water is an actual feedback system for that too. That's why I like aqua therapy a lot. To get to your question about football, I guess there's different degrees. I think he touches it at month 3 to 4. He's probably got a football in his arms right now. I think we'll know a lot more in 4 weeks to give you a better answer. But if we're like, okay, we're shutting him down, we're not pushing it for the Super Bowl, and we're waiting on next year, I think everything gets extended out 2 to 4 weeks.
Will he ever be the same?
Yes. I'm saying yes. And my prediction is he's going to be a better athlete too. I do. I think this injury is going to make him feel, like you said, he plays reckless. He may play a little bit more mature. I don't think his recklessness led to this injury. I think it was a freak accident. You see the whole thing. Some people are criticizing he's coming in and whipping around, and he could have just tackled the guy. I mean, that's his play. I see him being productive for the Lions for sure next season.
Doc, 120 days away from the Super Bowl.
120.
120.
Today?
Give us your odds of Hutch being on the field.
I love when you
for
guys
the Super Bowl. Give me your odds, baby.
120 days. That's 4 months.
Yeah. It's 119 to be specific.
All right. So if it was 120, I'm giving you 80%. I'm going to drop it down to probably 65, 70.
You really think he'll be 65%?
I think because of
I love it.
It's like Ragnow. Ragnow should have been playing that quickly.
No doubt.
His mental got him there. He had a physiological tear, right? He had a true tear. There's no question there's a break here. There's a major break.
You just got the chat really excited, Doc.
Well, that was just for the chat. I didn't really mean it. No, I will know better in 30 days with what's going on. I mean, it's really the next 2 weeks is going to be a lot to tell. Like you were pushing me on 2 weeks. What he's doing in the next 2 weeks will dictate how quickly he come back. There's a physiological recovery, like I always tell you, of the bone, but because of I've said it multiple times now, the rods and the screws, that stabilizes the bone so he's able to do things. It'll all heal within 6 months. So if you were telling me 6 months, I'd say it's a much higher percentage, but we're looking at less than 4 months. I'm having a little bit of trouble giving it a higher than 75%.
You're not having any trouble getting the hearts through the chat right now. They love that 65%, Doc.
Dr. Pierce, thanks so much, my man. We appreciate you stopping by on short notice. We'll see you Thursday. Check out Dr. Pierce, Michigan Sports and Spine, our WSN Injury Insider.
I'm inspired after that.
Well,
not gonna lie, feeling good.
Attention sports fans, don't miss out on expert sports injury insight with Dr. Jeff Pierce of Michigan Sports and Spine. Join Dr. Pierce every Tuesday during Big D Energy and Thursdays during Ermanni and Edwards, where he offers top-notch injury advice. Trust the guy that I trust. Dr. Jeff Pierce is here to keep you in the game and performing at your best. For more information, visit MichiganSportsandSpine.com or call 248-426-9944.